Hi guys! Welcome to V's Brain, or more specifically V talking about brains. Or more specifically, V talking about her thesis about cortical and subcortical abnormalities and attention-deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is the amount of specific this is gonna be. I apologize. I'm sorry. This might be a disaster. I don't know yet. From the start. So this video is going to be the first video in a series of videos about my thesis. I wrote my thesis as a chair of plasticity research at the University of Zurich about cortical and subcortical abnormalities in attention-deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, that's the title. It sounds fancy, doesn't it? I love it. Originally, I wanted to make one single video about it and just, as I usually do, ad-lib it and just improvise my way through that, because that's how I usually make videos. They can't be that hard, right? And that's what I thought. Right? Not right. It's definitely hard because it is a 37-page thesis. It is about brain abnormality, so it's about brain anatomy. And just to explain the methods with which these studies that I reviewed were done, just explaining what diffusion tensor imaging is, that just requires a video by itself. So I decided to make a series out of it. Because I need to actually explain a lot of background information in order to make it understandable what the hell I'm talking about. So I decided to make multiple videos and actually prepare scripts and stuff, which is why I'm sometimes looking down and, you know, reading, because I wrote a script. This is prepared. I'm prepared. It's great, isn't it? I am such an adult. I'm kind of proud of myself. Anyway, so in this video, this is just an introduction. I'll just explain to you what is about to come, and I am absolutely refusing to give you any sort of schedule for this. This can take anything between the next 5 weeks to the next 5 years, okay? I hope it's not gonna take 5 years. I'm giving my best to not let it take 5 years, but I cannot promise anything, so I won't. I'll just explain to you in this video what the hell was my thesis? What was it about? What are the videos going to be about? And, you know, the why and the how and the what's going to happen. So let's get into that. My thesis was in the form of a literature review. So that's just how the university that I'm at and the Department of Psychology decided that we should do our bachelor thesis. A literature review means that I conducted a systematic literature search. I picked studies, original studies, like experimental studies, according to certain criteria, and then reported and integrated the results of these studies. Obviously, judging from the title, all these studies that I picked were about structural brain abnormalities in ADHD patients. Specifically, I tried to answer 2 research questions, which I'm just going to read to you because I don't want to make any mistake with those. The first one being, can significant differences in brain structure be consistently found between ADHD patients and typically developing healthy controls? The second question was, are these structural abnormalities related to ADHD symptoms or theoretical ADHD models? So those were the 2 research questions that I wanted to answer. And that's what I did. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with scientific literature. I don't know how familiar you are with research papers or reviews. There's usually an introduction, which is basically the equivalent to this video, where you tell people what you're going to do and tell people what's going to be in your thesis or in your paper. Then there is a theoretical part, which is incidentally also going to be the next few videos in the series. So as I said, those 2 research questions were the questions that I wanted answered. Obviously, the studies I picked for that all feature a method of structural neuroimaging, which most people don't necessarily know all that much about. I mean, frankly, I learned so much about neuroimaging methods while writing this thesis because I had to look up so many things. I had to figure out things sometimes from papers that were it was really difficult to understand, you know. It's like highly technical literature. It's also all about math and yeah, just, it was a lot. So I'm gonna be presumptuous and assume that most people don't really know all that much about neuroimaging. This is not really something you learn going out to the bar, you know. So the first video of this little series is going to be about that. Well, after this introduction. This introduction doesn't count. This is just the introduction. The first content video is going to be about that. It's going to be about T1 weighted magnetic resonance imaging, so T1 weighted MRI, and diffusion tensor imaging, DTI. Following that video will be a short introduction to the most important aspects of ADHD and the most influential theories about ADHD. I'm sure that most people watching these videos will know fairly a lot about ADHD because I believe that the only people watching this video are my friends, and I talk about ADHD a lot. So I'm going to assume you know, but I'm still going to talk about it in the videos in case some unfortunate soul stumbles upon this and is completely confused what the hell this curly weird person is talking about. So we're doing that. ADHD basics, ADHD theories. That's going to be the second video. I'll also try to give an overview, hopefully as concise as possible. I cannot promise to be concise because it's brains. I will try to give an overview over the most important aspects of brain anatomy because I have a brain. Look at it. Isn't it great? It's neuroanatomy. It will not be easy and it will not be straightforward, and there will be a lot of things with gray matter and white matter, and then there will be moments where I am completely confused myself because somehow in university lecture everybody talks about the different areas of like gray matter. Nobody kind of really talks about white matter except for the corpus callosum because everybody knows the corpus callosum. But like, yeah, that was also, again, a lot of figuring out while writing the thesis. Anyway, I'll try to give my best to give a concise, as concise as possible, overview over ADHD and influential theories about ADHD and the basics of brain anatomy in the second video. The third video is going to be about the state of research. So basically, what does research find about these research questions? What is there in research about brain abnormalities in ADHD? So basically, I'm going to give you a summary not only of the few reviews that I read, but also of the studies that I reviewed. I'm going to give you the results of my thesis because everybody knows after the theoretical part and the methods, which is the systematic literature search, in my case, that was my method. I did not do any statistics for this. After that, there are the results. And that's gonna be, I'll try to not make it boring, but it's really basically gonna be a list of results. So like, really, if you know everything about neuroanatomy, if you know everything about ADHD, and if you know neuroimaging methods and you're like, nah, I'm cool with all this, just wait for that one, I suppose, because that's the one where we actually get to, you know, the juicy stuff, I suppose. Like that, there in the third video, there's gonna be the results. Maybe in the fourth, depends on how concise I can be with the neuroanatomy. I don't make any promises here, okay? Just, this is a plan. I have not written any of the other scripts yet, so just bear with me. Forgive me for babbling and babbling and babbling, because that's what I do. I talk a lot. Really a lot. Okay, anyway, so we have methods, we have ADHD basics and neuroanatomy, we have state of research and results. And then in the hopefully last one, I will basically recite my discussion of my thesis, because what do you do after you have reported the results? You have to discuss the results, and you have to discuss the results in terms of, are they consistent with each other? Are there any inconsistencies? Are there any problems with methodologies? Are there things that we can interpret from this? Are there any conclusions we can draw out of those findings, out of the compiled findings? And so that's what I'm going to talk about in the last video, and also problems like, what about sample sizes? What about methods? What about biases? All these things is going to be in the last video. Actually, now that I think about it, if you really know everything about ADHD and about neuroscience, and if you know all the things, you can actually kind of wait for that last one, the discussion video, because, well, that's where all the interpretation part comes in. So I suppose maybe just wait for that if you know all the things. Yeah, wait for that if you know all the things. So basically that's what's coming. Methods, ADHD facts, basic neuroanatomy, state of research and results, and discussing the findings. I put a lot of work in this thesis, which is why I'm making these videos. Usually I write papers, and once I'm done, I'm so happy I'm done. I just never want to see it again when it comes to like papers for my minor, or just other topics. But I really put a lot of work into this thesis, and I was passionate about the subject. I'm still passionate about the subject, obviously, because I do have ADHD and I do want to study neuroscience. It's twice a passion for me. So I hope through these little videos I can make the knowledge that I gained while writing the thesis a little bit more accessible for other people, and hopefully a little bit enjoyable. I don't know, maybe this is super boring for anyone but me, or anyone but brain nerds, or ADHD nerds. I don't know. I hope you can enjoy it, and I guess I will see you in the next one, when I'm gonna be explaining everything that I know and I learned about structural MRI, T1 weighted, and diffusion tensor imaging, DTI. See you in the next one. Bye!